Your Labrador isn't greedy. Your Labrador is genetically starving, and there's a 14-letter typo in its DNA to prove it. For decades, we told the same story about this breed. The Labrador that raids the bin, the one that inhales its dinner in 9 seconds flat, then stares at your sandwich like it hasn't eaten in a week. We called that greed. We called it a lack of discipline. And when the dog got fat, we blamed the owner. But in 2016, a team of scientists at the University of Cambridge looked deep inside the Labrador genome. And what they found rewrites that entire story. The problem was never the dog's willpower. The problem is a broken switch in its hypothalamus, the part of the brain that governs hunger and fullness. A switch that's supposed to deliver one simple message: you're full now, you can stop. And in a startling number of Labradors, that switch was never wired in at all. This is the story of the hungriest gene in the dog world. It's the story of why the chunkiest dog on your street might also be the least guilty one. And once you understand what's actually happening inside your lab's head, you will never look at that begging face the same way again. The scientist behind this is Dr. Eleanor Raffan, a veterinary surgeon and geneticist at the University of Cambridge. Working alongside obesity genetic specialists, Professor Stephen O'Rahilly and Dr. Giles Yeo, she had spent years studying human obesity, and she had a hunch. The Labrador's reputation for bottomless hunger felt too consistent, too breed-specific, to be a simple matter of bad manners. So she went looking for it in the DNA. Her team started small. They took drool samples from 33 adult Labradors, 15 of them obese and 18 of them lean, and they zeroed in on 3 genes already tied to obesity in humans. 2 of those genes showed nothing, but the third one told a different story. That gene is called pro-opiomelanocortin, or POMC. In the obese dogs, a small piece of it was simply missing. 10 of the 15 fat Labradors carried the deletion. Among the lean dogs, only 2 did. That was the signal. So Raffan widened the net, testing hundreds more Labradors across the United Kingdom and the United States. The pattern held. Around 1 in 4 Labradors, roughly 25% of the entire breed, was walking around with a piece of this gene deleted. And the more of that deletion a dog carried, the heavier it tended to be. The findings were published in the journal Cell Metabolism, and this wasn't a quirk in a handful of dogs. This was written into the blueprint of one of the most popular breeds on Earth. So what does this deletion actually do? To understand it, you have to understand what POMC is for. Think of it as the messenger that carries the "I'm satisfied" signal through your dog's brain. After a meal, the body is supposed to produce chemicals from this gene that travel up into the hypothalamus and tell the brain, "Enough, you've eaten." The hunger can switch off. The deletion Raffan found is tiny. Just 14 letters of genetic code gone. But those 14 letters carry the instructions for 2 of the most important pieces of that message, chemicals called beta MSH and beta endorphin. Delete them, and the "I'm full" signal doesn't get garbled. It doesn't arrive late. It never gets sent at all. Here's the mechanism that makes that so significant. Beta MSH is supposed to activate a receptor in the hypothalamus called MC4R, the melanocortin-4 receptor. When MC4R gets that signal, appetite drops. It's one of the most important off switches in mammalian hunger biology, and it's the same receptor implicated in human obesity research. Without beta MSH arriving to trigger it, MC4R sits silent. The off switch has no one pushing it. A related peptide, alpha MSH, still functions normally in these dogs, which is part of why the deletion took so long to find. The system looks intact from the outside, but the specific signals these dogs are missing are precisely the ones MC4R is waiting for. Picture a thermostat with the sensor snipped out. The furnace keeps roaring because nothing is ever telling it the room is warm enough. That's your Labrador's appetite. The dinner bowl gets emptied, the stomach is physically full, and yet the brain never receives word that the job is done. So the dog does the only logical thing a starving animal can do. It keeps looking for food. This is the part that matters. That dog is not being disobedient when it countersurfs, or eats a sock, or acts like every meal is its first in days. It is responding honestly and desperately to a body that is telling it the truth as it knows it. You are still hungry. Around 1 in 4 Labradors lives inside that exact feeling, every single hour of every single day. Now, if the story ended there, it would already be unfair. But in 2024, Raffan's team went back to these dogs, and what they found made it worse. The follow-up study, published in Science Advances, revealed something that changes the picture entirely. They discovered that the POMC deletion doesn't just crank up hunger, it also turns down the dog's metabolism. Labradors carrying this mutation burn less energy at rest than dogs without it. Their bodies, quite literally, idle slower. Sit with what that means. The affected dog is hungrier than its neighbor, constantly, and it's also burning fewer calories while doing absolutely nothing. More fuel demanded coming in, less fuel spent going out. Raffan's team called it a double whammy, and the name fits. It's not one disadvantage stacked against these dogs. It's two, working in perfect, cruel coordination. This is why owners of these Labradors so often feel like they're failing. They cut the portions. They add the walks. They do everything the vet says. The vet might even score the dog at a concerning level on the body condition score, the 9-point clinical scale used to measure a dog's fat coverage, and still the weight barely shifts, because they're fighting a body that's been engineered on 2 separate fronts to hold on to every calorie it can. It was never a fair fight. Most of them just never knew that. Here's where the story takes a turn nobody saw coming. You'd assume a mutation this inconvenient would be something breeders try to weed out. Instead, Raffan's team found it hiding in the last place you'd expect: our service dogs. When they looked at Labradors bred to become assistance dogs, guide dogs for the blind, medical alert dogs, the kind of dogs we trust with human lives, the deletion showed up far more often than it did in ordinary pets. In one group of assistance dog breeding stock, the mutation was nearly 4 times as common as in a random sample of Labradors. And it doesn't stop with labs. The researchers also looked at flat-coated retrievers, a closely related breed, and found the POMC deletion there too, at an even higher rate, present in roughly 66% of the dogs tested. 2/3 of an entire breed carrying the same broken switch. Why would the hungriest dogs end up doing the most important jobs? The answer is almost poetic. Assistance dogs are trained with food. Every correct step, every calm response, every learned task gets rewarded with a treat. And a dog that is desperately, relentlessly food motivated is a dog that will work tirelessly to earn that reward. The very mutation that makes these Labradors prone to obesity is the same trait that makes them extraordinary students. So we didn't just tolerate this gene. Without ever knowing it existed, we selected for it. We looked at the hungriest dogs and called them the most trainable, and we bred more of them on purpose. So let's go back to that begging face at the start, the one we called greedy. We were wrong about it. A dog with the POMC deletion isn't staging a performance to guilt you out of your dinner. It's carrying a body that genuinely, chemically, cannot tell it to stop. As Dr. Raffan herself put it, people are often quick to blame the owners of overweight dogs, when the truth is those Labradors are searching for food all the time, driven by biology they never chose. But here is the part that actually matters, the part you can do something about. Genetics is not destiny. Raffan is clear on this. It's harder to keep these dogs slim, but it absolutely can be done. If your Labrador carries this mutation, it doesn't need more willpower because it was never going to have any. It needs you to be its I'm full switch. That means measured portions instead of eyeballed scoops. It means slow feeder bowls that turn a 9-second binge into a real meal. It means hiding food in puzzle toys so the hunt itself becomes the reward. And it means forgiving that dog completely for a hunger it can't control. Your Labrador was never greedy. It was born starving, wired by 14 missing letters to chase a fullness it will never quite feel. And now that you understand why, you're the one thing standing between that broken switch and a longer, healthier life. That's not a burden. That's the whole reason it trusts you in the first place.